Thanks so much, Rebecca. It's such a delight to be here with you and with the whole IJS community. I'm going to start with a chant by Ali Halpert, and the words for it should be in the chat in just a moment. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name. Will you ease this pain? We meet today already in the 7 weeks of consolation, of comfort that begin right after Tisha B'Av concludes and takes us all the way to Rosh Hashanah on a 7-week journey. And in these difficult days, many of us are looking for consolation, comfort, and I'd suggest even clarity. We're also in Parshat Ekev, beautiful parsha that, on the whole, engages the human tendency that once you start to gain success or wealth or security, often you think it all happened because of you and because of your actions. And the message largely of this parsha is that it's never just us. Always there are greater forces at work, including those of the divine. What I really want to focus on today is the fact that 6 times in the Torah, we are told that the Jewish people are Am Kashe Oref. We are a stiff-necked people. And I'll just invite you. Maybe you, like me, actually woke up with kind of a stiff neck. Maybe you can look at the physical truth of this in your body. Maybe it's not. Maybe your neck is loose and flexible and soft. But for some of us, this resonates. We are at the moment stiff-necked. Twice in this parsha, we are discussed as stiff-necked. And so I wanted to just look into this, maybe also echoing the beautiful teachings of Cantor Kareth and Allison about the suchness of our people. Maybe part of the suchness of our people is being stiff-necked, whether we particularly feel that in our bodies right now. The medieval commentators took it quite literally. Rashi, French medieval commentator, said that it's a nation that turns the backs of their necks toward those who try to rebuke them and refuse to listen. So you can imagine, I'm not listening. I'm turning my sensory organs away from anyone who tries to criticize me. Sforno, an Italian commentator, says literally that we can't move our heads the person who is stiff-necked, that they can't listen to others not trying to rebuke them, but trying to help them, that sometimes we just get stubborn and obstinate even when help is on offer. And the Abarvanel says, we also can't turn our head, but this time, not from what is happening right now, we can't turn our head to see down the path and know the consequences of our actions. We won't look ahead. We won't see. And so, for a lot of these commentators, the sense of being stiff necked, of being cachet oref, is that you refuse, that you can't or choose not to move, to be flexible. But then we move forward in time, and we have a Hasidic commentator, the wonderful Mea Shiloach, who says something surprising, perhaps, about the stiff neck. He says this is a compliment from the One, because one can use their stiff necks for good, to be stubborn and holding on to what is true, not to be swayed by external fashion or forces. This is the very definition of the Jew, to survive despite persecution and travail. What I want to share with you is my own impression from this walk through the world of the commentators, that sometimes our worst characteristics can, in moments, also be our best characteristics. And there might not actually be something wrong about being stiff necked. Or sometimes it might be an obstacle to clarity and flexibility and living our best aligned lives. So I want to invite us all in this Jewish spiritual time where comfort and consolation is meeting the stiff neck, to choose your posture for this practice, whether it's sitting, lying down, standing up. And I'm just going to invite you, eyes closed or open with a soft gaze on a specific point a little bit ahead of you. I'd like you to just check in with your whole body for a moment. Just invite you to notice what's true about the flow of energy in your body, about any feelings of vitality and tiredness, tightness and flow. Invite you to notice the temperature. Maybe there are different parts of your body that feel different temperatures, just noticing what's true. And then I invite you to notice the truth of the region and area of your neck. Just noticing what's true about your neck just right now in this moment. Not what you were expecting to find, but noticing what's actually there. And I invite you to bring just the noticing without any need to change or fix or solve the problem of your neck, just accompanying the truth that you find there and allowing it to be. If your neck is soft, can you feel the flexibility that is there? And if your neck is stiff, in what ways is it stiff? Is it concentrated on one side versus the other, in the center or the back? Is it difficult to even sense into your neck? Just for this moment, I invite you, if it's available, just to invite your neck to soften without actually moving or adjusting. Just inviting it if it would like to soften. whatever that means in your body. Just allowing it to be a millimeter more soft. And notice what even inviting that part of the body to soften. Notice if there are any reverberations in the body, any changes in energy or sensation. Now I invite you, if you are resisting softening, to notice that sometimes not softening is exactly right too. Notice what it feels like just to allow the tightness or the stiffness in your body just to be there. And instead of wanting it to be otherwise, just allowing ourselves with our attention, a loving awareness of the truth of the sensation just to be held in the comfort and consolation of an awareness that doesn't need it to be anything other than it is, just now. What does it feel like to be softer about our judgment about softening? We'll continue noticing the truth of our body, focusing on the sensations of our body in the neck or in the shoulders or any space in your body that you choose. Inviting softness, inviting stiffness if that's what there is there, and noticing the quality of our awareness and our ability to soften judgment about whatever arises. We'll practice. Loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, baby. You don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Andrea Gibson, the wonderful poet who recently passed away, taught, "I know most people try hard to do good and find out too late they should have tried softer." And the wonderful Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, "And I have promised stubbornly, boldly, kshe oref, that I will increase tenderness, softness in the world." Both and. May our attempts to try softer and accept and include our stiffness bring comfort and blessing to us, and through our practice, help us be of comfort and blessing to others.
I mean, you seal this beautiful practice with an opportunity to recite the Mourner's Kaddish for anyone who is observing the Yortzeit, the anniversary of a loved one's passing, or in a period of mourning right now. You're welcome to share the name of your loved one in the chat box and to rise in body or spirit as we recite these words together. And you can also unmute your microphone if you would like.
Kadosh,
Kadash, Rabbi.
with Mofate, Bafayet on Beam on Creator call Beit Israel, Ba'agala, Ankarubi, Ish, Rabba Barak, Yitbarak, Yishtabak, Yitbar, Yitmar, Yitadori, Yitalev, Yitakosh, Medisha, Rifu, Ela, Minko, Pirat, Dushpata, Mirandio Mavi, Ish, Sona Raga, Minshaba, Israel, Main, Sashon, Bimba, Uya, Sashon, Shaku, Oya, Shvete, Imru, Amen.
Israel.
Thank you so much again to Rabbi Dorothy for that beautiful teaching and practice. And thank you again to everyone here for joining us here and helping to make this community of practice what it is. We are very grateful for this opportunity to gather together in this way on a regular basis. For anyone who is leaving now, we wish you shalom. And we hope to see you again tomorrow at the same time. And everyone is also welcome to stay here now for the next 15 minutes or so. We have some time to ask Rabbi Dorothy any questions that arose for you today in response to the teaching and the practice that she guided, or if you'd like to share any reflections around what came up for you in your sit today, you're welcome to do so in the chat box. So if you do have a question, please just preempt your question with the word question in all caps so that we can make sure to see it. So I can go ahead and get the conversation started. Dorothy, thank you again so much. That teaching was very resonant for me this morning. And the truth is, has been, I think, especially in these times where when we are experiencing so much that is so difficult on a collective level, some of these patterns, right, that the body or the heart gets into around protecting ourselves in some way can really come to the surface. And I had my own experience recently of sitting on a retreat myself and feeling this kind of hardness around my heart that just wasn't shifting. And I brought it to the teacher and I was like, where's my heart? Like, I can't find I feel like I can't feel my heart. There's some protective layer around it. And the teacher just encouraged me to really trust that, to trust the heart's intelligence, and that we don't have to force ourselves to open or force ourselves to soften, but the heart and the body has its own way of doing that as it's ready, as it feels safe, and the possibility of still creating some softness, some opening around even what might feel stiff or closed is such a important realization, I think, that that's possible, right? And so I'm curious if you could just speak a little bit to, particularly in these times when there's so much to feel and so many reasons why we might feel stiffness or hardness, how to relate to ourselves with compassion in the context of practice.
Thanks so much, Rebecca. As I was thinking about this teaching, where it started was with the invitation to softness. And then what became really important to me was just the softening of the judgment about whether I needed to be soft or not. There's a really great teaching, I know you know this as well, from David Trelevin, who teaches trauma-sensitive mindfulness and has a book by the same name. And he does this great exercise where he asks people to like make a really strong fist. And this fist is like your safety and your security, and it's right that it's tight. It's like appropriate and it's your safety. And bring your other hand and like try to pry it apart and what that feels like. And then he says, now make the same fist, but with the other hand, first look at the hand and put a little care and presence in it. And then let that hand know that the fist is doing what it needs to do, and just let it come alongside. Just let, and then what if you try this, at least what happens for me physiologically is like the fist relaxes. Once someone's not trying to tear it apart, it's just like, oh, I can actually be what I am here. And the opening is sometimes just there. I find this also on retreat or just in practice with the breath. Sometimes it's like, oh, I'm attending to my breathing, so let me make my breathing super slow and super deep. And then you're just kind of like working at cross purposes, and I could end up hyperventilating from that, right? But if I just notice what's true about my breath, without trying to fix it or think of it as a problem or as an exercise or something I need to like get a gold star for or an A. If I'm just with my breath, it just naturally slows down and deepens. And so I think that the softening that I came to think about it is just the judgment around whether things need to be stiff or soft or just aren't we all these things sometimes one time or another, and sometimes all at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I think this is where mindfulness can be so liberating and really bring such a different approach than what we're used to, where very often when there's an experience, whether it's a hardness or a stiffness that might feel uncomfortable or unpleasant, there's like the conditioning in the mind that feels like, oh, something's wrong. I need to fix it. I need to change it. But with mindfulness, we can actually just let it be what it is, right? And actually be with it. And then in this kind of ironic way, when we're not trying to change it, life has its own way of unfolding and its own intelligence, right? That might be um, moving along in a way that is different than how we think it should. Right. So
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. And what you're saying to me brings it to where, like, if we just keep noticing what's true, we generally move into practice of trust. Trust is such a deep part of the practice that often goes kind of unspoken in the background. But the moment to moment trust that we allow practice to have, if I do this, if I keep doing this, it will be okay. There might even be benefit. The trust in our body to tell us what's true. And for me personally, the trust in the divine that I'm being accompanied in the practice and supported. Um, However, one may articulate that or sense or not sense that. That's my experience of the practice.
yeah, and that, I think what you just said around the trust and trusting in the divine as well, it's so beautifully illustrated by that exercise you shared where when the fist is like holding that, whatever it's protecting all on its own. And yet when there's just some support, how that might bring just a millimeter of softening, even if it's very subtle. And I think this is such a beautiful teaching where if the heart is very closed or the neck is very stiff, whatever it might be, well, can we hold that hardness or that stiffness with softness? And if we can't do that, can we source that from outside of ourselves, even if it's just tuning into, for me, you said the divine, for me, one way that I can really come close to that is feeling the earth, like feeling the earth beneath me. Can I feel held just by gravity? Can I be held by maybe remembering or imagining what it feels like to be in the presence of someone who can hold me? And we can just keep moving out in these concentric circles of like, even if my experience is so constricted, is there some level in which I can connect to a greater holding, a greater love with all the
Absolutely. Those are really helpful additional ways of releasing into and allowing support that isn't trying to fix or change. And I think about this when we talk about practice being practice, this experience on the cushion of being able to be with sometimes even just discomfort. When we went into the part where I wasn't talking, I was like, "Oh, great, my legs are already falling asleep." Right? It's like, okay, right? And it's like like you wouldn't see my legs if I like readjust, but I was like, I'm here. This is what's coming up. It's fine. Like I've learned that I can actually do that and it's okay. And that practice with being with discomfort and with allowing allows me now to be better at sitting with someone else who's having a difficult time. And I can bring that same sense of like, I don't need to take it away. I don't need to fix it. I don't need to tell you something amazing that's going to inspire you or, make the problem go away. I can just come alongside of you with a loving awareness and presence and be with you and allow you to have your own experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, what you just spoke to around if that feels like another key for me also just in accessing the heart and a softer way of being with experience in times when there is something really uncomfortable or challenging, to remember that it's a human experience and it's something that other people experience as well. And if I'm having trouble feeling that compassion for myself, to remember that practicing being with myself in a loving way is also going to help me to bring that to others and to feel that compassion for others who might share in that same experience of difficulty. It's just another way of really drawing resource from that web of interconnection and humanity that we share that can be very comforting.
I think that's right. And I think it also nurses that deep sense of trust,
Mhm.
right? That there that actually the world isn't out to get us
Mm.
and to break us, but that the world in all of its different creatures and being and, ground and air and water and fire is there to hold us and to help us grow and enjoy, you know, this amazing invitation to being we've been given.
That feels like such an important truth to really bask in, like even in a conscious way in this time. I think a lot of people in the Jewish community feel a lot of fear right now. And sometimes it really does feel like the world is out to get us, and to remember that it's never the full story,
Yeah.
right? It's never the full story. It kind of reminds me of just, we know that we have a lot of negativity bias in our brain. And even on a neurological level, there are very deep grooves often in our brain from an evolutionary perspective of really noticing what's wrong, because noticing what's wrong or what feels challenging tends to be more important for our survival than noticing what's right and really lingering and basking in what is pleasant and what is working. And although it's important for our survival, we're not usually actually in the moment in a life or death situation where we need to be in that fight flight brain in order to address the house that's on fire or fight back against the tiger. So it's not so good for our quality of life, and actually it can bring so much more balance to our perception, to really consciously linger and bask in what is good and what does feel supportive and what does feel pleasant.
Yes, and I hesitate to say this, but I'll say it anyway, with the caveat that it's something to practice on the cushion, right? In the same way that stubbornness is really important in certain, circumstances. How can we relax even that sense of good, bad, right, wrong, just when we're practicing? What is it if it's all right? Because it's here. What if instead of right, wrong, it's just here, not here, here, not here, present, not present, right? That's a dangerous way to drive on the freeway, right? Like it's not for everywhere. It's not for, right? It's like, but when you're practicing, how much more spaciousness is available to be able to practice that in a safe space, if that's what it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. So I did just see one question on the chat around just who was the author of the practice you mentioned with the fist, which was David Trelevin. Do you want to say anything about his work, Dorothy?
Well, I know that we've both enjoyed training by him, and I would recommend it for anyone, for whom uh, trauma has been a part of your life. And there are, we mentioned in the course of this chat today, just a number of supportive practices that if difficult things come up, that you can work with. And that book, Trauma Sensitive Mindfulness, has a beautiful, clear way of just giving lots of understanding, space, clarity, and then a lot of actual things you can try in your practice to support yourself and to know when practice isn't the right thing for you, and how to help regulate yourself if you feel dysregulated. So it's a resource that I quite often um, mention. So thanks for giving me the opportunity again.
As we're closing, we're at that time. Dorothy, I know that there are a couple other upcoming events and opportunities to practice with you that you wanted to share about. So curious if you want to share.
Thank you. There are many, but I'm going to just single out two that are upcoming. One is Sunday, August 24th, is Rosh Chodesh Elul already. And the month of Cheshbon HaNefesh, of preparation for the high holidays. And I'm thrilled that I will be leading a day-long retreat, both in San Francisco, but also on Zoom, with the amazing teacher, Norman Fisher. And so Norman and I will be doing that. And if the timing isn't right for you when you register, whether you're there or not, you will get a full recording of the day-long retreat, and that link is there. And then it felt ridiculous not to mention that I get to teach with the great Rebecca Schisler and Norman Fisher at an in-person retreat, Shabbaton, right before Rosh Hashanah, September 19th and 20th, Friday evening to Saturday night, Jewish Meditation Shabbaton at the beautiful Urban Adamah in Berkeley. That one, unfortunately, is just in person, but anyone who'd like to come, it can be commuter or residential. And it's a lovely space in Berkeley. And it's going to be, I think, a really beautiful way to deeply prepare for Rosh Hashanah and for the whole high holiday season. So those two opportunities, we'd love to see you there. And thanks so much, Rebecca, for hosting such an illuminating and heart-opening conversation. And yeah, and also to Natalie for tech.
Yeah, and thank you again, Dorothy, for sharing your wisdom and your heartfulness and your presence with us. And thanks again to everyone for being here today. And maybe we'll see some of you in later in August and September. All right.